Episode 3, 901. Are we endlessly pondering with our political endeavors, or are we building something solid for the future? We can make notes off this episode right now and guarantee to move ourselves forward. Help take more steps to escape the conundrum. If we're going to defeat the conundrum and we want more accountability from leadership, then we have to ask ourselves, is the philosophy in saying, let's limit how much they can make, the right move? Because maybe that is saying that's a downgrade. Maybe that's making leadership less attractive. Maybe that just keeps spinning anybody's head around as they just keep being thrown around in a big, huge mixer that we call the conundrum, and nothing's really actually happening. Are you carrying around a big, huge bag full of issues? And how many of those issues actually have a financial payoff? These questions have to be addressed. If you're ever going to detox yourself from drinking tea or drinking the punch, you have to address these various questions. You have to be honest about them. You have to be wise with the solutions that you will propose. Now for the truth. Myself as a candidate, I have proposed many solutions that model out very well. But for some reason, nobody's grasping them. They're not returning to accepting carpentry. They're not returning to accepting building hard assets. I've been on this road speaking about this my whole life. But the reality is, what we think is speaking and conveying hasn't been working. Addressing large crowds sometimes doesn't work. You give a great speech that is too generalized. There's no real solutions proposed. Therefore, in truth, people really wasted their time. Again, 50 years of failure in political operations. We failed. We have a huge list of things to do with each different political organization. Or at least supposedly we do. But we're not making ourselves great again. It's really not happening, hasn't been happening. Yet I try to say, hey, look, hello, pay attention. The solutions are right here. But there's not a crowd forming. Here's the truth. Here's the shocking truth. When I say, I want to guarantee to restore your carpentry skill sets and financial harvest capability. You as a builder, 45 years of work, 480 houses. But nobody's embracing this. Nobody's signing up. Why? The truth is hard for people to believe. Why is this? Yet, we have large crowds of people protesting, sometimes, and let's be honest, over issues that they can't really resolve. And the reality is those big protests are not going to get those items resolved. They're really not working. They're really not encompassing and embracing real solutionism. Oh, in some cases you might be pressuring people to come up with a solution. But the reality is things run a course and a schedule. you have a lot of people that will protest wars and feel that they eventually ended the war and made it successful. But sometimes when you look at the reality, it simply ran the course that it was going to run to begin with. Which means, how is it that you did something? How is it you achieved something? Did you divest your wallet? I laid out a bunch of stuff years ago that just didn't catch on. I'd say to people, let's pool together and buy our own media companies so that we can convey any extra advertising time, that is, to the particular interests that we have to help further those interests. And, by the way, buying into broadcasting in this way gives us stock, which means that we can make even a profit. But definitely, most definitely, we would not be laying out a huge amount of cash for a sequence, a series of protests that would end, the money's spent, it's gone, and you're never going to get it back. That investment went. So the concept of saying, yes, let's build a media, yeah. Oh, let's get together and buy media. Let's buy out a major company. Money has been spent many times over the years. I've covered this in other lectures before. So sadly, the revelation is I keep putting out solutions and people don't believe it. They don't participate. They don't feel that they work. And eventually there's this huge long list of items that, yeah, turns out he was right about that. So I'm trying to get people to understand that there are different ways you can model things in your mind, which is the way a lot of people kind of do it. And say, yeah, we need to do this. We need to step forward on all these areas and drive things forward. And the reality is that some people are still lacking in reaching 901. This is very sad. For some of us, such as myself, I keep trying to build. I'm a builder. I keep trying to build this nonprofit archive. I keep trying to build all these solutions and all these facets. And the reality is, gun in face is a problem. The gun in face problem. This is an unfortunate reality that really needs to be dealt with. It needs to be embraced, repaired. So people are doing things. What are you doing? 901, what are you doing? Are you backing people who are building archives? Are you backing people who are building modeling systems and solutions? Are you backing people that are working with a permanent growing system? What type of philosophy are you backing? This is when I ask people, please, can you put the T down or the punch down and review your life and understand that the last 50 years of your political activism pretty much has been a failure. That's a givens for 7 out of 10 people. So how are you going to break the pattern? Are you going to begin dual participation, multi-candidate participation regardless? Are you going to expand options? At least in theory. At least in theory. And embrace the possibility that, let's say, some of these other candidates at least would have something to bring to the top of the table. Wouldn't logic dictate that this should be a reality? 901. So we owe it to ourselves to move forward and Granted, so far I've laid some very heavy, large items on the table. We're talking tens, hundreds of millions of dollars, even billions of dollars to buy a media company. That's a large task. But building one from scratch can also be a task. We have a lot of people that are doing something interesting. They are independently building their own podcasts, their own Zoom shows. It's been happening for quite a while. Now, hopefully people have been saving these things. Now, unfortunately, sometimes the grassroots thing actually seems a little boring. Doesn't necessarily seem like there's forward movement. But guess what? Collectively, over the course of time, there is, in theory. So what do? Well, we convert all of those casts into text. That's YouTube usually does that for you. You copy and paste the transcripts. You put them into your ChatGPT. And now you can attempt to manage them. Well, in segments, that is, you can manage them. But we're getting bigger and better. The amount of material that we can work, the multialityism, is coming along fine. Now, I've tried to explain to people about using the 7 standing desk method. As a candidate, one of the first goals that I would be achieving in the White House is getting 5 computers to every citizen. Why? That's an easy no-brainer. That's a liability item because the government is the one who wanted the back doors in all the chips so they could see terrorists. Unfortunately, there's been an imbalanced situation over the harvest on that, and the burden has been laid off in a large way on the average citizen. We have vast victimization on a daily basis, $10 trillion in damage a year. So the legal interpretation of the situation, of the way I have the notes laid out, would empower me as the president to take action and say there's a legal problem here. And the White House, me, can do something about it. I can order compensation to occur. I can make it happen. So getting 5 computers to every citizen to empower them to be able to either use their own learning models and participate in various types of AI, or tapping into companies that already provide very powerful services. 901. This is important to understand that we can do this. We can do this. So, the need to protect archives is of the utmost importance. Has anybody forgotten this? Please read the Constitution and understand why archives are listed so prominently important. Because why? Because to attack archives is a death penalty. I've talked about this in several lectures, if you can find them. There seems to be an organizational access problem. Why is that? Many extreme acts of violence, large industrial scale theft. That's what's happening in your life. The productivity of your life is 480 houses for 45 years of work. But look around you. How is that number translated out? How has that been happening? Now, I want you to keep in mind that building 2-bedroom homes is something that in life if you lived in 1750, as it can be today, that you would see your parents, your neighbors building things on a daily basis. It's just something that used to happen. And you would absorb all of these skill sets very rapidly. So by age 12, you could pretty much do some carpentry. Definitely by age 14. So we're not talking about a college education here. We're not even talking about a high school education. In fact, we're not even talking about a junior high education. We're actually talking about elementary school level training of carpentry. That's what it was. And we should instill that again. It's actually very simple. It's generally no more than 6 weeks of total training, if you do it right. Yet, understand that you don't have to have a super IQ. You don't have to be super intelligent to do the basic carpentry aspect. It's just one aspect. It's just a necessity of life. 1750, you just did it. That was part of life. Well, you have to have a roof over your head. And, then you have other aspects. If you're a subsistence farmer, you're doing food and some animals. All that's expanded. You added shops. You added more skill sets. You became diversified. You had the equivalent of your own small ranch. You could do your own blacksmithing. Various other things. Wood cutting, furniture making, all kinds of things. And if you wanted to get into machinery, you could. So we have all these people that keep talking about higher education and higher items. But we're still failing on the most basic, which is that nobody should be taken advantage of over a roof over your head sitio. But welcome to reality. That's what's going on. The management of this does not model out well. I know how to model it out right and well, but neither one of the major candidates have been doing this. My modeling philosophies have been beating the snot out of every major candidate for the last 20 plus years. That's reality. That's reality. That's AI that looks at it and does an evaluation and says, Michael Crosby has the best economic plan out of all the candidates. He's the best guy for the job in modern history. That's what AI says. So deprogramming and deep programming are what we need. Oh, I have the higher end stuff. Oh, yes. But people haven't figured out how to get together and give themselves the most basic security, the most basic archival protection, the most basic protection of the ability to build their own homes. That's only the very beginning of a vast, complex modeling system that I've worked on, that I have laid out various portions. So people, you need to do something. You need to say, use some science. Let's use some science. Yes, we can use some science. Because neither one of the current candidates being looked upon as the front runners have the solutions. There's something wrong. The party physics of the Democratic Party, for the most part, 70% of the Democratic Party is fueled by a series of complex issues that are personalized and have virtually nothing to do with permanent wallet repair. They have virtually nothing to do with guaranteeing that you have a roof over your head, that you own. This is why reevaluating a series of issues and philosophies is important, because we have people voting a series of philosophies that do not financially repair your life. There's no leadership. Basic carpentry seems to be virtually banned in the Democratic Party. There are many people that would say that that makes people look very foolish. What are you doing? Where are you going? Nobody wants to be your friend, right? You're forcing it. You're forcing it. Well, we're desperate. We have to do this. We have to do this. No, you don't have to do that way. You can do multiple participation. If you want to expand capabilities, if you want issues development to actually occur, you're going to have to participate at multiple levels with multiple candidates. You need to accept this. Now we're coming up on the end of show number 3. I would like to move forward with the doing items, the hard doing items, the addressing of 7 out of 10 people that have not made success, and say, here's the plan, here's the road. By the way, this is guaranteed. This is guaranteed. So when you step up and say, yeah, I got plans right here, it's guaranteed, we can get everybody into mass real estate development, but at a micro level, at a localized level, at a grassroots level. And it can be diversified. It can be very, very diversified. But people haven't been able to figure out a way to do this, to get on board, to sign up. And if you want to escape the cult, if you want freedom, then you must address the philosophies of deprogramming and deep learning. 901. I would like to thank you for your time today. Again, my name is Michael Crosby. I'm running for POTUS.